What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to Sports Talk 49. I ain't even call him a guest with my co-host, Mr. Caleb Benenoch, CB, Big C in the building. I got these sunglasses on, man, because I got a hangover from the Super Bowl, man. And I also want to hide my eyes from crying from this verbal beating I'm about to take from Caleb when he's dropped these bars on you about this game. Caleb, what the hell happened? Was that the script, man, in the Super Bowl? Or was that actually a good game?
I mean, I've been saying this. Let's take a little walk through the season. How when first I come on the show, I said this is the best ball player I've ever seen. I've watched a lot of ball. I've played against some great players, played with some great players. I said there's nobody like this man, bar none. And then what was the talk? The Bills are supposed to be the team to beat this year, right?
Josh Allen. Josh Allen. What about Josh Allen?
He's the MVP front runner before the season starts, mind you. MVP front runner, this, that, and the other. I said, it goes, Pat, again, I'm always talking about the elder statesmen, they're done, right? They're not that done, but I don't talk about them when I make these lists, right? Because I know Tom Brady's great. He's retired now. I know Aaron Rodgers is great. Top quarterbacks.
And he's making Magic Mike photos now, with the crotch
yeah,
out
exactly.
and all that stuff.
Hey, he's a young man in Miami, all that money. He's having some fun. He's newly single. Yeah, do your thing, Tom. But I said Patrick.
You know how much money he's going to make if they do the most eligible Bachelor show? Dude, think about that.
It's ridiculous. It's beneath him. I don't want to see him do that.
I mean, just because he can.
Yeah. But I said Patrick Mahomes. Then I said Joe Burrow. And then I said maybe Josh Allen, but I could really put Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen. And everybody said I was crazy. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but they was like, no, Josh Allen has more arm talent than Patrick Mahomes. And then after Josh Allen had like a bad 8-week stretch, they said, no, it's really Joe Burrow is the best quarterback. That's who the guy is. It's Joe Burrow.
How quickly that changes.
Right? Yeah, and then he goes in and beats Joe Burrow. Then it's, oh, man, this Eagles defense, I don't know. They had the most sacks in about 50 years. They're going to run Ruckshaw on this dude, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen. This guy is going to find a way to deliver like he always does. He finds a way to win. Highest QBR in Super Bowl history, 96.2. The next closest one was Joe Flacco at a 90.4, I believe. In the second half, his quarterback rating was a 99.9. The highest is 100. Yeah. He had one incompletion in the second half. Yep. It was a throwaway.
I believe both quarterbacks need credit this game because I think the total he only threw, if I get this correct, 6 incompletions Patrick Mahomes threw, and I believe Hurts only threw 8. So both quarterbacks.
Oh, we'll get to Hurts.
Very.
Well, you're gonna hear this Pat Mahomes love first. Again, on one leg, 26-yard run up the middle.
I mean, let's be serious. Is the leg really hurt? I think that's all gas, man.
See? That's how great he is.
Oh,
that he's making you think that he's faking an injury.
Because he's that good.
Have you ever had an ankle sprain?
Yes.
Okay. Did it take you only 2 weeks to heal?
I took
Hell
myself.
No, that's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're
right. Yeah, I was in a cast for a month. I was in a cast for my ankle sprain for a month because they were like, "Hey, you don't want to move this thing," and it was in camp, so they're like, "Oh, it's fine. We don't need you to practice." He's like, "Nah, we got games to play. Tape it up, shoot it up. I'll go out there." And for the first time, when you get any kind of twist or any kind of re-aggravation, all that pain comes right back. The drugs is done now. So no, and that's the funny thing. Like, he's so great. He's just so good at football that we're sitting here talking about, man, is he really hurt? Jalen Hurts played an amazing game. Like, that dude, Absolutely. He showed out. He had been kind of his playoffs run. Because he got hurt, has been really up and down. He hadn't played very well. And this dude came out, man, and he was doing everything. The only reason the Eagles were in that game is because of Jalen Hurts. And the funny thing is, going into the game, we thought Patrick Mahomes had to play 400 passing yards and 6 touchdowns to have a chance to win. And Jalen Hurts can just kind of meander around and have 150, 70 rushing, and the Eagles team is good enough to get it done. And the opposite happened. Patrick Mahomes was like, hey, I only got the ball Patrick Mahomes had the ball for 23 minutes that game. Time possession was way skewed, right? The Eagles were on the field the whole time. They tried to play keep away from him, but that one turnover, the punt return, and then defense couldn't stop anything yesterday. But Jalen Hurts was outstanding. He played outstanding. His defense let him down, special teams let him down. But it's tough, man. Like, did they really let you down? They just get beat by a better player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say they let them down. I don't think they were as good as people said. But, like, again, Pat does that to everybody. So it's like, can you really be upset?
I mean, all I got to say is...
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I mean, that's it. Are you entertained? Or are you not entertained? It's Patrick Mahomes. As you said over and over and over, that was your guy, the magician. When everybody else was panicking, you put on your sunglasses and said, chill, bruh. Patrick Mahomes got this. Chill, bruh. Chill, bruh. You said this from the get-go. You said it from the jump. Patrick Mahomes all day. I kind of looked at
come back.
I looked at the team perspective. I just look at vibe. The teams, got momentum going in there, and because the Eagles were rolling on all cylinders. I mean, Jalen Hurts was having a bounce back season. The team really rallied behind him. But at the end of the day, it's a two-part system. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying about Patrick Mahomes' playing ability, but it also helps having the Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame head coach in Andy Reid as your head coach on the other sideline, because there was multiple plays in the game, as we talked about off air, game planning, attention to detail. Those two plays, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Baldy broke them down. When Caleb takes his point, I'll try to find the videos and post it on here as we're talking to show you what I'm talking about. There was two plays in the red zones, was attention to detail. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, they ran in I think it was a 2-by-2 formation. You had two receivers, Tony, and I can't think it was Kelsey on the right side. Tony proceeded to go in motion from right to left. As you know, DB, if it's a man coverage, as Patrick saw, the defender follows. And if you're hauling ass to the other side, the defender's got to try to be a step faster because you have to go around traffic to get around. You don't have really a clear path like you do on the offense. So he overran it, and Tony came back and left himself wide open twice in the red zone area, and it was two basically walk-in touchdowns. That's just attention to detail in the game. That's making adjustments from first half to second half. But it's just with Patrick Mahomes' playing ability and the coaching with him, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, man, that's just tough to beat. I've got nothing to say. I'll take this ass whooping today from you because you were right from the beginning, and it was everything I thought it was going to be this Super Bowl.
It was great, man. I think for me going into it, and again, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes a match made in heaven, right? It's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady all over again, but this is more exciting. I would say they kind of won games just based on just like, hey, super fundamentals, like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, play good defense, and that's how they won their Super Bowl championships. Other than the years of Randy Moss, right? Other than those years, that's kind of how they were. These guys, they're doing spinneroonies in the red zone.
Oh yeah, and it's all the tricky.
They're having fun with it. The moment's not too big for them. I think what happened, those guys have been here so many times. Like the nucleus of that team has been to that position so many times. 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, 5 years champions. They played in all these games. Towards the Eagles, other than Kelsey and Lane Johnson, I think Fletcher Cox too. All of them, Fletcher. The rest of the team, this is the first time on that stage, and so you can tense up sometimes in those moments and do certain things. James Bradbury, right? He makes that play. He holds him. It's a Super Bowl. You can't make that mistake, right? Like offensive linemen know it, and people also say, "Hey,
not in that critical point in the game either."
You can't do it. You can't do it, right? And if you get beat, you get beat. But what happens is they score a touchdown and you get the ball back. But now that penalty, they get to run the clock out. You don't even get back a chance to get back on the field. And but it was a phenomenal game, man. One of the best we've seen in a long time. I wanted to see a good game. I didn't want it to be a blowout either way it goes. I didn't want Patrick Mahomes to go out there and beat them by 40. That's not fun for anybody, right? We were engaged the whole time. It was, if it's a script, it was written beautifully, I think.
That's been the thing. Even the players are making jokes about it, the whole script thing, as we talked about.
Yeah, because we know
the funny part is they're only a point off in the script, and they picked the wrong team to win.
But it's like, we know how ridiculous that is. Like, you're not telling me, you're going to tell me I'm going to work my butt off for a whole offseason and a whole season, and then I have to go lose this game on purpose. Like, come on, man. Like, it's crazy to say, but it's fun.
So what you're saying for disclosure, has there ever been at any point where you were handed a script to a game?
No.
So it's bullshit.
It's very much bullshit. We get a script as far as like our first 15 plays that we're gonna run.
Game plan.
Game plan.
Okay.
Yeah, but nobody's telling us, hey, you got to go give up a sack in the third quarter. You guys are gonna lose. You're like, no. Like, how many dudes are gonna say, hey, you got to get hurt? You know, like that stuff doesn't happen. But it's.
I think Kelsey made a joke about that. I think he was like, hey, he said there was a script. He said, when I got my knee blown out by Ed Reed, he said, at least you could have scripted to be a bigger guy instead of a little guy taking my knee out.
Yeah, dude, it's funny. But man, it was again, great game. Both guys, Hurts, phenomenal. I'm interested to see what they do with him moving forward. I saw something today too. So you look at the way the league is shaped up, right? Look at Tom Brady and the success that he had. What's the Tom thing that people said about Tom? Tom takes less money. He never got paid what he's worth. I don't think Tom in a season made over $30 million in his career, or $35 million, right? For perspective, Aaron Rodgers is making $60 million next year, right? All these guys are coming up for their contracts. Kyler Murray got his big deal. Lamar Jackson wants all his money, right? All these guys, Dak Prescott, this first year in Dallas, he made like $70 million with his signing bonus and his $40 million a year, right? Patrick Mahomes, when he signed his deal, I think he signed like a 10-year or it was some long contract, like 7 years, $500 million. But the way it's structured, it's backloaded, right? So the bigger money is like in year like 7, 8, 9. And then what he's going to do is just going to restructure it again. And he's still getting paid handsomely, don't get me wrong. But he wants to win. So what can they do now? They can pay Chris Jones to stay. They can pay Kelsey. People forget how many draft picks they got for Tyreek Hill. They got like 4 first-rounders for Tyreek Hill when he got traded to the Dolphins, right? They got Kadarius Toney and was able to utilize him, and he came up big. They found Pacheco. So they have money to make moves and to kind of have a really good offseason and just kind of build on what they have now, right? And get another pass rusher and, get some guys back healthy and to get another safety. I'm interested to see what Jalen Hurts does, what Joe Burrow does, right? All these guys. Lamar's situation is a little different because he's more of a running quarterback. Josh Allen took all his money, right? Stephon Diggs, they don't have money to give him help anymore. Not that Stephon Diggs is not enough because he's a phenomenal player, right? So now it's up to Josh Allen. Dude, you're getting paid all this money. You better elevate your teammates.
It's time Jalen Hurts wants more accolades here.
Yeah. So, like, what's important to you? And I think early on we're seeing from Patrick, like, dude, I want my legacy. I want to be the best quarterback when it's all said and done. I don't need to say that I made $60 million. Aaron Rodgers made his choice. And again, there's no wrong choice here.
No. Especially when you're doing money.
Yeah. If you do you can't feed your kid Super Bowl rings, right? So I get it. But if you're a guy like him, if you're like Tom, if you're like Patrick, I think you should be commended, not required, but it should be commended that those guys are like, hey, okay, I might be only worth $250 million instead of $305 million when my career is over. Whoop-de-doo, right? But I walked away with 5 rings. I walked away with 6 rings. I'm looked up as one of the best ever. And then you can get a TV deal for $400 million like Tom Brady did. So either way, the money's going to come to you if you're great. So I think that was an interesting thing that as we kind of get into the offseason mode and we start seeing contracts moving around and quarterbacks moving around, it'll be interesting to see what those guys do.
No, I think you and I both said earlier, before the earlier weeks when we got together that this offseason was going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be guys taking jobs. Tampa Bay still hasn't even found an offensive coordinator yet, but there's going to be lots of movements. Still, there's no word in the camp of Lamar Jackson. What he's going to do are the Ravens going to move on, pick up? I honestly believe they're going to put Cunningham from Louisville on the roster because he played in the Senior Bowl because him and Lamar would train all offseason since he was at Louisville. And, he took over after Lamar. I honestly believe that. I know there's been ties to Richardson going there, but let's draft. We'll talk about that later time. But there's going to be a lot of moves in the offseason. But as of right now, like I said, it's the Super Bowl hangover. your Kansas City Chiefs, 2 Super Bowls, and Patrick Mahomes' first year of his first part of his contract in 5 years, 1 Super Bowl loss. Right now, you haven't mentioned it, but I will. I don't normally do this, but I will, only because of the span of Super Bowl wins in such a short period of time. Is he on track to be the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I think so. He needs more years and
Right.
more accolades, right? More Super Bowl championships, obviously. But one thing I think is undeniable: when you turn the TV on, right? Pick a quarterback: Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino. I don't care. Pick a quarterback. When you turn their tape on and you put Patrick Mahomes' tape, nobody is, without take away all the accolades, right? You don't know anything about the accolades. You're a football fan. You watch football. You don't know who's who. You just turn it on and watch them. You're picking Patrick Mahomes every time.
You're like, who is this guy? This guy's phenomenal.
You're picking him every time because of things that he does.
Just off look, the eye test, we call it the eye test.
Yeah, the eye test. It just doesn't make sense. He's falling down, getting drugged down by 300-pound linemen, almost on the ground, flicks it to Kelsey on a huge
you talking about the Super Bowl?
Right? Yeah, Kelsey makes that great catch, but just like those things like that, Kelsey too. You're like, how are you always open? They know you're going to throw you the ball. We know you're going to throw this guy the ball, but he's always open.
Only person I know that's ever locked him down is Levante David. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, that was a great game by Levante. But it's like, dude, how is this kid always open? So I mean, he's definitely on the trajectory. I think he's the most talented player I've ever seen personally, especially at the quarterback level. But he just keeps stacking wins, just to get numbers. But retires today, he's first ballot Hall of Famer. If he retires today, God forbid.
Yeah, I can't argue that. And let me clear myself too, because there's 2 things. When I said earlier before, I was talking about the greatest of all time. Like I said, I don't normally say that because, first of all, I like people to finish out you at least have 10 years in before I even start having this conversation with that. And then in the addition, like you just said beautifully about versus Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and these guys, or what your accolades end up, because he could fizzle out after this year and never go back, because that's just the way the league is. He could get hurt. He could. I mean, it just brings me back to Chad Pennington. I don't know if you remember old Chad Pennington.
Jets.
Great quarterback, and then hurt his throwing arm, and then did not have the strength. That's what I'm saying. Anything could happen in the league. That could happen to Patrick Mahomes. No, not saying I want that or want to see that happen. I do not want to see any grown man hurt themselves. I'm just saying anything like that. Like I said, he could fizzle out. So I like to see people finish, because I know a lot of people want to throw out the greatest of all time all the time. You hear that all the time, the GOAT this, GOAT that. Whoa. I'd be like, whoa. Slow that down. We throw that word out way too much these days. But in this case, as long as he stays on track, I said it could be that. So we'll see in the future. I wanted to add, with all that rambling I just did, everybody keeps talking about Bieniemy taking a head coaching job. So me being me, I'm the analytical guy that I am. Everything, the ideas I come up with are my own. I hardly watch ESPN. I hardly do watch those guys. I just watch it when I hear there's good takes or I know it's a topic, because everything I come up with is what I've been watching and I witnessed. With saying all that, I have to add, I know my old head coach talks about Eric Bieniemy when Eric Bieniemy was coaching college football way years ago when I was playing. We were doing the whole recruiting process. He doesn't have a head coaching job. Yeah. It doesn't really look like he's pushing to go get one, because I don't see him pushing the envelope that one. So me being the person I am, I got to start thinking outside the box. So what I'm thinking is, and this is going to be a bomb dropper. I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree with this one. The only reason I could see that has not happened yet are a couple of reasons. One, I said, you don't want to leave what you have just to say that you got a head coaching job and you got a great thing running there. You want to ride it out as long as you can. 2, and the most big important thing, Andy Reid's talking about retiring very soon, and Eric Bieniemy is going to take over for that team. Because I grew up in Philadelphia. Well, I lived in Philadelphia and grew up there. I lived there for a while, and I know about Andy Reid's past and his family with his kids. If you don't know, one of his sons had a drug problem and they died. And it was a short time after Andy Reid was fired from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because damn, I felt bad for the man. I said I can't remember who said it. They said it was almost criminal that you would fire Andy Reid for picking football over his kids. because he should have just stepped away from football to take care of his son, because his son was clearly in need, or to get him some help or whatever he needed to do, but he was focused on the team, and his son ended up dying. That's the only two things I could think of. That Andy Reid is planning on retiring and hanging it up soon, or Eric Bieniemy really is just going to stay there and ride it out, because just like Nick Saban, why the hell would I leave something I built here together, I built right here, and go somewhere else just to put a label on me? Your thoughts?
Andy Reid is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay.
He's only 65, right? For some context, Pete Carroll is 74 years old.
Oh, gee.
He doesn't look it. Bill Belichick is like 73. Andy Reid is
he hides it.
Yeah. Right? Andy Reid is 65. He's having fun. He has a chance to coach possibly one of the best players to ever play in the game, Patrick Mahomes.
And a guy, they laughed at him when he drafted that draft. I'll never forget that draft. They said Patrick Mahomes went too high in that draft. I remember that draft. Only him and Sean Payton were the two guys that wanted Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. So he has them, right? His nucleus is there. He has a star defensive tackle in Chris Jones. And those guys elevate everyone else around them, right? So why would he leave? He's winning championships. He's an Arrowhead Invitational. He's going to Super Bowls. He's not going anywhere. Eric Bieniemy wants that coaching job. I know for a fact he does want a coaching job. I think what happens, he's kind of like a product of his own success with him and Andy. It's kind of well known that Andy Reid designs those plays, and Andy calls those plays, right? So I think what I've heard is Eric Bieniemy wants to go and be an offensive coordinator somewhere else, right? That he has full control of the play calling.
Wait, you said, let me rewind this. You said you hearing this? Of course, you're not going to give your source. You said you're hearing this?
Yeah, I've heard this, yes. Like Eric Bieniemy's thinking about taking an OC job somewhere else.
Somewhere else?
Yes.
In the near future? Or
yes.
Okay, so when you say near future, you're saying this offseason or next offseason?
This offseason.
And this, of course, again, I'm not going to ask you the name. Is this coming from within somebody in the organization or somebody out?
Somebody who knows him, but I think it's out there if you search.
Okay.
Somebody who knows him, but it's out there. Right. But that's one thing that's been talked about. Again, it seems like a lateral move, but if he has control, because he's been to whatever it is, 20 interviews in the last 4 years. They've been talking about this guy for like the last 4 years now, and he hasn't gotten a job. And the only thing I can see is not because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but because it's Andy's team, right? Andy Reid did that. Andy Reid does it. Andy Reid doesn't. So you're really not getting any credit for that. You know, and so I think if he goes somewhere else, maybe Tampa would be a cool place. They need an offensive coordinator. Eric Bieniemy can come to Tampa, try to turn this offense around because it was stale last year. They give him full reign.
Stale is an understatement.
Yeah. You know,
you know how much, and you know how much, I'm sorry, because I say, you know how much, you know, I told you I made those into untold stories and convos that we have to make transparency so people don't miss what you're saying. It's getting talked about a lot. The conversation that you had about that, the whole Tom Brady moving Arians out thing, because there's a lot of people that are in denial, and now they're hearing about all that now. Who's really calling the shots in Tampa, the days off and stuff like that. So I just wanted to tell you that, people are starting to pay attention to that now, how everything transpired from being such a high prolific offense the year before to I don't even know what the hell you want to call that last year offense. You could have mastered up something better than what we were putting out there had you given the powers to do that. But I just wanted to put that out there. That was going on.
So I think Tampa would be a great fit. They got a defensive-minded coach. So having him there, he knows he's going to get full control of the offense. So whatever success they have, that's his success. I
never thought about that. Oh.
Yeah. You know, there'll be no
that today.
Yeah. So that's something I thought that would be really cool. So, yeah, I think that's really the only thing. Because, like, again, all the numbers. But, again, it's like, hey, you have Andy Reid and you have Patrick Mahomes. Of course you're going to have good numbers, right? Right. So people kind of want to see, like, hey, before I give you this job. Because look at what's the Patriots OC? Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is a head coach.
Oh, you mean the old one?
McDaniels.
They had Matt Patricia. They had a defensive guy calling offense last year.
No, I'm talking about. So when he was in the Patriots, right?
Yeah,
he was the wonder boy.
Yes,
the young gun. He was supposed to be the best new thing. He goes to Denver, awful. Gets caught for cheating, gets fired.
Well,
Goes back
there's
to
a
New England.
lot of things that happened with that. Brandon Marshall asked them, did he want did they have any? No, not Brandon Marshall. Jay Cutler, excuse me. They asked Jay Cutler, and Jay Cutler asked them, did they plan on trading him? He understands the business because he went and bought a home. Then it came out that they was trying to trade him and get another quarterback, and ended up drafting Tim Tebow. So yeah, it was a lot of things that transpired when Josh McDaniels came out there, and we all know that story.
He tried to be like Bill Belichick and like have that, arm's length relationship. You know what I mean? And that only works when you have a guy like Tom Brady who's willing to take those lumps for you and go to bat for you in the locker room. If you don't have that guy, good luck trying to do that to grown men, right? And then so even in what we're talking about, McDaniels, he goes to Vegas. Vegas was a playoff team last year. They really struggled this year to find themselves, and now it's the quarterback's fault. They shipped the quarterback out. So just because you're around greatness does not mean you are great, right? So we're seeing now that Tom Brady made Josh McDaniels look better than he was. At least he's not really head coach material from what we've seen. His record is like 14 to like 45 or something as head coach, right? So it's not looking great because he needs to find that guy. He needs that quarterback to. So I mean, like I want him to get an opportunity. I'm always for our black people getting opportunities. But I'm glad that you didn't make it a race thing because that's not what it is. I know a lot of people like to say, like, oh, he's not getting a job because of this. I don't think that's what it is. There's a lot of circumstances, Like, look at Aaron Rodgers wins back-to-back MVPs, right? Mm-hmm. What do? They give an offense coordinator head coaching job. Denver looked awful. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, that whole thing where it's like, oh, hey, you coach this quarterback and he did great, and this coaches you guys won games. Oh, now you're the head coach. You're head coach material. No. Sometimes you put great players and they make you look really, really good.
Yes, it happens, and it goes both ways. Sometimes you have a head coach and they make a player look good. Sometimes a player makes a head coach look good.
Andy Reid.
It's a transparency thing, and good coaches make average players good players great, and great players Super Bowls. That's what superstar, excuse me. Superstars, that's what good coaches do. As you said on the race thing, I wasn't going to touch into it, but I am going to speak on a part of that because like I said, I watch movements that goes on here. I may not say much, but I watch it. So when you talk about the race thing and all that, I have to go back to a little issue that got brushed down under the rug, but I'm still peeking. I still see it. The name I bring up is Flores. So when Flores blew the whistle and did all that, there's a couple things that he mentioned. And you mentioned this off air, and I did not mention anything, and I will speak about it now because it's already happened. The Denver situation. Now, if you remember that whole situation before, now I'm talking about Miami, just talking about the whole situation before, where Brian Flores said he went in for an interview with the Denver Broncos. And he said the Denver Broncos already knew what guy they were going to hire. They were basically simply checking the box because Brian Flores fit the black man category, and he had to interview per the Rooney Rule. And I believe his statement was exactly that Elway and other executives came in and they were intoxicated and drunk, and they came in the interview just to get out the way. So with me saying that, I was watching everything that was going on in the league happen. We talked about off air where you told me that Sean Payton was already hired by the Broncos, and it didn't come into fruition yet. But now you see later on down the road that the Saints and the Broncos worked the deal or whatever, and they ended up getting Sean Payton now. And I say that because a lot of people missed this. Denver Broncos brought in David Shaw to Stanford and gave him in for an interview for a head coaching job, knowing good damn well you weren't going to hire David Shaw to be your head coach out there in Denver. As you said beautifully before, you can't have a rookie head coach come out here and try to coach a superstar like Russell Wilson that makes more money than you. It's going to be hard to manage. You just watched the dumpster fire from the head coach previously trying to coach a guy. He had no control. He literally said he had no control over Russell Wilson. So why would you do the same thing again, bringing in another guy that couldn't control him? So I saw all that happen. I knew they weren't going to hire David Shaw. All that was a check the box Rooney Rule thing when you already knew you were going to hire Sean Payton. It's clearly anybody would have hired Sean Payton as your head coach. Why wouldn't you? He's a quarterback whisperer. Only man next to Andy Reid that I know that can just take any quarterback and turn them average. When I just say average player into good player into great. He's another guy that can do that. But I wanted to point that out because it's, again, something that you've brought up that's been 100% correct. You said that the Denver Broncos are going to hire Sean Payton, and here it is, and it's happened. And we can talk about it now because it's already happened. And I just want to point that out with the whole check in the box thing because I watched that. I knew they weren't going to hire David Shaw. I knew they already had their guy. David Shaw may have been that dude back when Andrew Luck and all them came out back then, when all that was happening. But David Shaw really hasn't been producing anybody much after that. So it was just very eye-opening to me to see that interview happen, knowing damn well they weren't going to hire it and they were going to hire Sean Payton. I don't know if you want to add to that. I just wanted to point that out and give you your flowers because that's, again,
you're
right.
What's his name? So Bill Belichick texted Brian Dable. He meant to text Brian Dable. He ended up texting Brian Flores, and he congratulated on the New York job. And Brian Flores basically was like, "Hey man, like my interview is tomorrow, right?" And he was just like, "Oh," he was like, "Dable," and he's like, "No, Flores." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he starts apologizing, because he was like, they already know who they're gonna hire. One thing I'm gonna say about the NFL is the good old boys club, right? People
I call it the yacht club.
They are going to hire people they want to work with. That's why whenever a coach when he gets hired as head coach, everybody who's there is out and he's bringing his own guys in. He's bringing his own guys from wherever they're at. He's giving them jobs. He's giving their friends jobs. All the scouts you see, it's somebody in the organization's son or a brother or uncle, or people want to work with people they enjoy. So if you have old white men hiring people, who do I relate with more? Are the old white men, right? That's kind of how it is.
You hire who you're comfortable with.
Yeah. And again, I don't see it as a bad thing. I think they should do away with the Rooney Rule. I feel the same way about affirmative action.
Okay.
I'm just going to get controversial here. But I don't
know. It's within the scope of what we're talking about. And if you're watching this, please, you know me. I said I call things straight, whether it's a black on white issue, a white on black issue. I've been firm down the middle. I will call it exactly how I see it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. I just want to put that out there before we keep talking about it.
I think they should move it out the way because the Rooney Rule now only stands to offend people. Because now you're just saying, okay, hey, we'll just have, it's like one token black dude. We'll just bring him in, talk to him. We don't really care. We're not going to hire you. And then we're going to go hire who you want to hire. So a lot of times we've already picked the guy before. So now all it's doing is offending people. Do away with it. Hire me on my merit. Right? Well, we've come far enough as a country now that we don't need a workplace to be like, hey, you must interview a black person. Dude, if I'm good at my job, I will be found. Go up there. I don't want to feel like you're forced to bring me in to come do a job that I'm very capable of doing. There's a lot of black coaches.
Tolerated.
There's a lot of black coaches who are very successful in the NFL, who do their job very, very well. There has been for a long time. Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith coaching the Super Bowl. This is what was it, like 2000?
Herm Edwards.
Something. Herm Edwards. Like there's been a history of
what's the guy that took over the
coaches.
Lions? What's the guy that did the Lions? And he went 9-7.
I forget his name. Campbell or something.
Yeah, he took over from the coach from Dungy and then went to Detroit. I can't think of his name, but it'll come to me later on. But yeah, him too.
Even in Tampa Bay, there was a litany of black coaches here, right? Had a lot of success, won a Super Bowl. So I don't feel like this Rooney should still be there, forcing people to interview, because all that's going to happen now is people are going to get pissed. Like, oh, did you interview him? Oh, well, you interviewed him and you didn't sign him. Just do away with it. And then you go out there and you go work your butt off. Life isn't fair. I'm sorry. Shocker. Life isn't fair. Work your butt off. And if the opportunity comes, seize it. Like, seize the opportunity. But it's, for me, it's just, I hate seeing it. And I'm just like, we're great at our jobs, right? There's a lot of successful black coaches. Let it come how it comes. Stop beating people over the head and forcing them to do that. You're just pushing them away. Do away with the rule. Do away with it. Because they don't care.
No. And I'm agree 100% with you on that. The black man, we can speak on this because obviously we're men of color, though.
Yeah.
I don't want shit handed to me because I'm black. I want the damn job because I'm the guy that's qualified for the damn job. That's me personally. I don't want shit handed to me. I'm over that. credentials. Well, we got to bring in 10% blacks to put in here. I don't want that damn job because you got to meet a quota. I don't want
a quota.
I don't want to go there because of that. I want to go where I'm celebrated, not where I'm tolerated. That's where I want to go.
And I want competent people in every level of everything. Like, I don't want somebody, like, how many times you've gone to like some restaurant or something like that, and you're just like, man, I can't stand this way. People who don't like their job, or people who don't know their job well enough and are just there because they're meeting a quota, whether it's for anything, race, religion, sex,
gender.
Gender. If you're trying to meet quotas and say, okay, we have to have so many of these kind of people in here because we're trying to be PC or whatever it is, you're going to be less productive as a company. Because now you're not searching for people who are the best at their job. You're saying, okay, I have to have so many of this, so many of this, so many of this. And I'm just like, dude, like, no, like, get the best person for it. It does not matter about the color. And I love that that's happening now in the NFL, especially with quarterbacks. Because for a long time, we all knew, like, oh, if you're a black guy, you should go play DB or go play receiver. Or
I was going to get into that next. First time you had 2 black head coaches, which not this genre of people. Prior, there were always rumors that they said men of color could not play quarterback because we weren't smart enough. That's the point you're making. I'll just say it. That's the point you're making.
Yep. Not over half the quarterbacks in the NFL are black. Mm-hmm. Over half of them. Mm-hmm. The ones coming in are black too. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, black.
Or mixed. or mixed.
Yeah. People is black. Or mixed, whatever you want to say. Yep. But like, so it to me, like, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. And the day when we stop talking about it, that would be my favorite day.
That's why I love Lovely Smith's in that press conference where your girl Jenna Lane asked him that question about representing black. He said, when y'all stop talking about it, is when those people will start bringing it up.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree 100%. It's it's great. I even love the fact that this past week, the whole first 2 black quarterbacks to start the Super Bowl was very, like, such a small part of what people talked about. I'm like, because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter anymore. Those are 2 great quarterbacks. Who cares? Who cares what color they are? Right? Like, dude, it's amazing. Like, they're playing great. Like, let's not make this thing such a big deal because it's divisive.
Yeah.
It's really, really divisive. And I'm just like, I'm tired of it.
Yep. One more thing into that. It is Black History Month too. So again, I know people don't want to talk politics, but like I said, it's within the scope of what we're talking about. So we're not going off here talking about balloons flying over and all that. We're not going to talk about that. But so here's the question. I say, if you do away with the Rooney Rule, here it gets juicy. You do away with the Rooney Rule. So here's the thing here. So you hire who you're comfortable with. And if you do away with the Rooney Rule, they hire who they want to hire. So they could just do away with all black head coaches, black coaches, period, if they really want to, and then just hire all white men or Asian or whoever else, just not men of color. There's very little Spanish coaches, so they would fall in this category too. When does a black owner own a team in the NFL? There's many have tried, and you have to get voted into the yacht club. You got to get voted into the golf lounge, but it's when do you think that happens?
So if they do it with the Rooney Rule, I don't think that there's going to be some mass exodus of people of color coaching. I don't think they're going to fire. I don't think they're going to fire all the black coaches because again, these guys aren't getting hired because they're black. Right. They're getting interviewed because they're black, but they're not getting hired because they're black. They're getting hired because they're doing a damn good job, and they're successful, and they're going to Super Bowls, and they're making quarterbacks great, and they're winning, and so they're not getting hired because I just feel like the NFL, even the coaching staff, they're getting younger and younger. A lot of head coaches are getting younger and younger. That old kind of 80-year-old. Unless you're an OG. Yeah, he's kind of those guys are kind of getting washed out, and so the people who are in that age group, their prejudices are way less because they didn't grow up in segregation, they didn't grow up in. So I'm not too worried about that because if we start talking about quotas, how come Asian people aren't saying, "Hey, we need to have more Asian representation in coaching"? Why don't you? And you know what I'm saying? Why is it just us? Why is the rule only for people of color? Everyone else wants to coach.
Spanish too.
Spanish coaches, right? Ron Rivera might be the only one, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's do away with it. And the thing about having a black owner, I hear this talked about a lot. It's like, man, there's black billionaires. Why don't they team up and like come buy a team? I think P. Diddy and somebody else tried a little while ago. This is why. For somebody to buy a team, all 31 other owners, 32 teams. So if you want to buy a team, all 31 other owners have to agree on it.
That's why I said that you had to get voted into the yacht club. But go on.
Yes, right. And if you want to, if you think you're going to be somebody who's going to come in there and like, I'm going to shake the room and do all this, and
they don't want it.
You're not doing that. They're going to tell you, no, I don't care about your money. We don't need your money. The NFL is $1 billion industry. We're there without your money, right? Jerry Jones is the head honcho. He has the most profitable sports franchise in the world, right? In the world, you're not getting in. So until it's not just about the money, right? All these guys are friends for the most part.
Yeah,
right?
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a long time. They talk to each other. They come in and they, sit in each other's boxes at the game and they drink together. And like, so it's like, why should we let somebody in that we don't know? Think about it like imagine if it's your friend group and you guys are all doing stuff together. You hang out all the time. And then some random person comes in and says, hey, you guys are cool. Can I hang out with y'all? You'd be like, no, I don't know you from a bag of beans. So when you think about it in that aspect, it really shouldn't offend you. Like, it's not something that I find personally offensive that there's no black owners. It's not easy to be an owner, right? Like, it's not easy to get into that club. It's hard.
Well, you're a business owner yourself, so you can definitely know how hard it is being a business owner. Yeah,
it's again, like I said, I think people kind of wither it down to just like, oh, you got $1 billion? Oh, pull your money together, go buy a football team. The day-to-day aspect of running it, the time that they spend vetting you before you can even buy a team, like the Walmart people were at it for years before they bought the Broncos, right? It's like a long process, And so I think one day it will happen. I couldn't tell you when. Will it be cool if it happens? Yeah. Will it bother me either way? No. Like, because the funny thing is, before it was, hey, we need more black players, right? We need black. Okay, you get that. Okay, we need this in here. Okay, now we need black owners, dude. Like, everything doesn't have to be black and white. If it happens, it's cool, and that'd be great, right? But it's not like black people are less successful because they don't own a football team. Look at Rihanna, $1 billion queen, billionaire, pregnant, dancing on halftime show, amazing. Everybody stopped to watch her. We have so many people doing great things. Don't minimize it to like, oh, we don't have a sports team, racism. No, I disagree. I think we're doing fantastic. It was black excellence all through that game yesterday. From the halftime show to the two quarterbacks playing amazingly. Travis Kelce, I think he's black too.
Might as well, right?
He's got a lot of soul to him.
Do the what's that Dave Chappelle racial draft? He definitely would get drafted.
Exactly. So we're doing so many great things, man. Like, don't minimize it and think about the only things that we don't have. Celebrate it. If it happens, celebrate it. But don't I just don't like people who complain about all those things. Like, dude, we're doing great.
Yeah, definitely get where you're coming from. I think, and I like your point of view on it. You're more you don't want everything to be racist in this thing. Like, that's why I said, if you're watching it in its entirety, because we both have good points. I'm with you on that. I don't want that to be emphasized so much, like where you got to be forced to do something. The best man, best woman get the job. I've been an advocate for all these ladies getting these jobs and females getting jobs in the NFL now. Like, I'm all about the best man or woman get the job. If they can do it, if they're qualified to do it, give them the damn job, regardless of what they look like, what clothes they wear, or whatever it is. Can they not do the job? And I'm with you on that. With the day we stop looking at that as a point of view, I think we'll start moving forward as a race of people, the human race, not the color race, the human race. I just think, my personal opinion, being in my experiences in life, humans find reasons to not like each other for whatever reasons. I just hope the reasons aren't because of color. I really hope we're past that. Man, and black or white, when you see it, you need to squash it out. Regardless, it just needs to be dead.
Can I be honest with you? I don't think we'll ever be.
Huh?
I don't think we'll ever be as a world. We'll never be to a point where somebody doesn't see your skin color or your orientation or whatever and dislike you for it.
I don't think so either. I'll never see it.
No, it's not going to happen. Because the reason I say this is because I'm Nigerian born, right? I'm in Nigeria. There's racism there.
Oh, yeah.
Dark skin.
Yeah.
Certain tribes like this tribe, right? Rwanda. People don't know the story. Go look it up. There was like literally mass genocides and black people killing black people because your skin is a little like different shade and you're from this side of town. So I think you're evil. So it's everywhere. It's never going to stop. The only thing I hope that we get better at is not letting somebody's color, orientation, anything impede them from what they want to get done in their life. You can have, you can feel how you want to feel. I don't care, right? But hey, I come to your place of business. I'm like, hey man, I want a hot dog. Here, have a hot dog. Whatever you think about me outside of that, I don't really care. Doesn't bother me at all, right? As long as you allow everybody to live in peace and you allow people to go about their day and you don't, enforce your prejudices on other people, then I really don't. I don't care what you go and say in privacy of your own home. I was mad when that John Gruden email leaked. I was really, really upset. And I was pissed because I said, if I went through each and every single one of your texts and emails.
You said that right here.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, like, let the man live. Like, you can say, oh, he's racist. He employed hundreds of black people over his life. I don't know if people know what racism is. People who are really racist, they cannot stand. Like, you can't be in close proximity, right? Like, it's like a hate. It's like a real hate. Not this soft stuff. Like, it's what Martin Luther King Jr. was walking for, right? Like, when they were sicking dogs on people. That's racism. This stuff, people just saying certain things and they like, oh man, I'm just like, dude, whatever. It's not affecting my day, right? I move on and I live my life. But when you use it to affect people's lives, like if you have issues with the police or whatever it is, and you go and like impede it on somebody else with your prejudices, that I don't want. That I disagree with. But how you feel internally, I don't care.
10-4, I agree. And I don't know. I think we'd mentioned that. I think John at some point gets a job back in the league. Maybe he's going to win his lawsuit. And if he hasn't, I don't know. We'll see.
The one thing about the NFL, they don't like to feel like they lost. They don't like to feel stupid. Those owners don't like to lose money. He wins this lawsuit. They pay him upwards of $100 million. They're not going to give him a job. Nobody's going to hire him. I just don't see it happening. They tried to excommunicate Tom Brady after he took the NFL to the Supreme Court, but he was the face.
Deflategate. Yeah, Deflategate.
Yeah, he was the face of the NFL. You can't. He was too valuable. They're making them too much money.
And then won
like Kaepernick, same thing. He sued the NFL, won. It was like, yeah, you're not getting no job. Like, you're not getting a job after that.
And a few short years later, there's a whole riots over the very thing he was talking about. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy, huh? So he wasn't just talking shit. It was actual fact. And nobody ever comes out. And all I wanted the NFL to do, well, I think they did, but they just never mentioned his name. They should have mentioned his name because that's what you were talking about when they came to the apology or Roger Goodell came out and said about that. They were wrong about situations that people were talking about. And when they were talking about Kaepernick, they were talking about Kaepernick. They should have just said his name because you blackballed the dude because he was advocate against something he believed in, which the United States went a whole big war on law enforcement thing, that's what he was talking about the entire time. So
I'm gonna say something, and I want to start by saying I am not defending the NFL.
Okay.
Just start off by saying that.
All right.
Why the NFL, and it's gonna be a big point, but I'll bring it together. Why the NFL? Look how they responded with Colin Kaepernick, right? The NBA, on the other hand, their players wore the shirts and they didn't come out for the national anthem. They took knees, they did whatever. And the NBA was like, sure, whatever you want to go do, right? Cool, it's not a problem. The NFL sells to people the shield. It's all about the shield, right? The NBA sells the players. It's the stars. The NFL's a shield. That's what the fans come to see. The fans go to see LeBron. If LeBron's not playing, Staples Center will be empty. There's not going to be a lot of people there. If LeBron's playing that night, packed to the brims because they want to go see LeBron James. I'm not just going to go see the Lakers. It's LeBron I want to go see, right? So the NFL, they didn't want to upset anybody. It's their business. Bottom line is not money. That's it. They only care about their money. They saw outrage from certain fans because they said it was un-American to kneel during the flag. So for the NFL, up until it became too big for them to ignore, they were like, hey, we'll just keep it to the side. We don't want to come out and make any kind of stance because I want everyone's dollar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like that's why
it's
they
a
did
business.
what they did.
Oh,
Yeah,
trust me, I know. It's a business.
Michael Jordan said one day, he had a famous quote. They said, hey, Mike, why don't you ever talk about politics? He said, Republicans wear sneakers too. He's like, dude, like,
I remember that.
Charles Barkley, I'm not your role model, right? Like, so everyone's opinion of things are different. I think it's funny how we hold sports teams and sports corporations to these high moral standards, but we don't hold Apple to them. We don't hold Amazon to them. We don't hold none of these big corporations. But for some reason, because you know who Jerry Jones is, you're like, oh, why aren't you, denouncing racism? I was like, dude, like, when did I say I was a racist? You know what I mean? And so the NBA has one too, but theirs is a little bit more quiet. China. The NBA is like, China has the NBA by the scruff of the neck, right? Because there's so much money there because they love basketball in China. And the second China says, hey, no more backing from us, that's billions the NBA loses. So whenever anything with China happens, you see the NBA is just, they don't say a word. There's no peep. There's no coming out against it. Like I think the owner tweeted from Houston Rockets, tweeted something about workers' rights in China. And the Chinese government was like, hey, take that down or we're done with you. And he made him take it down and made him apologize, right? And so it's like, where's the outrage for that, right? At the end of the day, these places, they're businesses, and they're going to run it like a business. They were really quiet about it up until the outrage that they were quiet about it became more than the outrage people saying they were taking a knee, if that makes sense. Right. I said that, right? So when it became cool to say, hey, social justice, that's when they started doing social justice. Before that, they didn't care. And so I think we should stop. I don't put I don't put sports and franchises on a pedestal and think they're like, my moral compass should fit theirs. No, those guys are business people, right? My morals come from me, my family, the Bible, the people around me. Those are people I hold to a higher standard, not a football team. It's a football team. I know it was a little long-winded, but those are my thoughts.
No, I've had this conversation several times with issues. You got to remember, these NFL teams, this NFL is a business, just like Walmart, just like McDonald's, just like all them. I tell people all the time, I said the NFL, the Buccaneers, Patriots, it's not a law enforcement agency. It's a business. That's what they are. They're a business. You have to take that retrospective out of your mind and think about what a business would do. It would protect its investments. It would protect its investors and keep money coming in and do damage control when you need to do damage control. Send out your apologies, blah, 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 to keep your customer happy. So they'll keep spending money on your product. It's what it is. It's just with sports, something we all love. So you look at it differently other than a business. Some do. Some you've played the game and you understand the business aspect of it. I cover the games and teams like that, so I've learned to understand the differences between things and why certain things happen and why certain things don't. And I think it was, you said it was a long answer. Now that's the only way you can really answer that. It isn't elongated, but I'll summarize it a little bit. That's just what it is. It's a business, and that goes with penalties and stuff that comes out with the whole Deshaun Watson. Long conversations I've had about that, about what's morally wrong versus what's a business perspective. And I just tell them, like, when you come into a job, any job, you're held to a code of conduct handbook. And when you have violations of those code of conduct handbooks, you're subject to disciplinary actions, i.e. in the football, it's suspensions. Well, what did he do wrong? You did this wrong or you didn't report this on time, it's a 4-game suspension. That's how they have to go by it. They can't suspend you. Well, they could, but you're going to lose in a lawsuit because you're not following your SOP, standard operation of procedures. I know I'm getting all in the detail about it, but that's just what it is. Yep, and that's what it is. I said that's how you can, because if you don't, you're gonna get sued. That's why you get sued, because you're not following your own SOPs. That's why people you see, well, he's suing the league because you didn't follow your own policy. And I lost money. I was suspended for it. Now you got to pay me because you didn't follow your own policy. And you open your door to civil litigation because of it. So that's why that happens. But
another thing that I just thought about that upsets me. For some reason, people, like I just talked about putting sports franchise on a pedestal, right? Moral pedestal. People like to do the same thing with athletes, entertainers, politicians.
Yep.
I don't understand how somebody makes a mistake, whatever it is, and you say, oh, his life should be over now. He should never have a chance to work at this job again. Never have a chance to make money.
That beautiful.
Like there are certain things that, like, again, certain things, if it warrants jail time, right? Because you do something atrocious, go to jail. Fine. If somebody gets cleared, yes, that's law enforcement job. Somebody gets their name cleared and like, oh, how can we let him back in the NFL? What are you talking about? He can't make a mistake. You've never made a mistake in your life. You've never messed up, right? Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, people like to act like, oh, I'm so holy. Why aren't you holy? I'm like, no, dude, I know you, right? The doctor down the street, he stepped out on his wife and had an accident. You know, he might have did something like that, and it's just nobody worried about it.
What's his name? Just slapped his wife on camera. Ain't nobody uproaring about that. Where's the Me Too movement on that?
Talking about it.
They ain't said a word.
Right? But for some reason, Deshaun Watson should pay $10 million, be suspended for 2 years. He hadn't played football in 2 years up until this year, right?
Pretty much.
You never play football again. How dare you? This, that. I'm just like, dude, y'all need to stop. Like, y'all need to stop.
And here's the thing about it that I have an argument with everybody. What was he convicted of? Nothing. So I don't care. They're like, well, they said this. How many lies have been told on you? How many lies have been told on you in your lifetime? Are they all true? Oh, well, no, they weren't true, but it's different. Well, why is it different? Because of you? I said people tell lies. I'm not saying that he's clean because I wasn't there. I have no idea.
Yep.
All I can do is go by facts, and I will always do that. The police department dropped the case because it was messy. There was messages deleted. People were trying to cover their tracks, and you can't prosecute somebody when you're doing investigation on the ones filing the complaint are blatantly hiding evidence.
Yep.
So that's why you got to drop it. I said that because you wanted to get paid or whatever it is. Some girls got paid, whatever it is. The NFL can only suspend you for what violations you got. And I believe the reason he was suspended because, again, when I brought that up, you didn't follow SOP. You didn't report it on time. The team found out via, I think, verbatim in the rule book, it says if it finds out via news, social media, et cetera, you're subject to suspended because you did not inform the team about your issues going on. They found it out from a third party. I believe that's what it says. I know I paraphrased it a little bit, but that's what it says. And if you don't report that on time, you have a duty to report on time.
Yep.
Caleb, I know you got to run. I appreciate always having you here. You want to let everybody know about your upcoming job and all the stuff that you got coming on in the future? I know you got a lot going on in your life. And you don't really talk about yourself too much, man. But you got a lot. It's something to be talking about. It's another step in the direction of your life, man. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all.
Not today. We'll spend some time probably next week.
All right.
Talking about it when some things are solidified, and we'll have a good long convo about it.
I'm always about speaking things into existence, so that's fine if you want to keep it direct. So, and just as we always do, you're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with it is entirely up to you. I'm Blake Anthony. This is the great Caleb Benenoch, co-host, no longer guest. And we'll see you next time. Fire those cannons.
Sure.